All right. Hello, everyone. Another episode of Whatever Happened to the Game. Don't worry, I'm getting a little better. I'm better than I was last week. And welcome from Illinois is Albeleo. And this is me talking about my favorite and most disappointing game sequels. How are you doing, Albeleo?
I'm doing good, Solid Snake. How are you?
Well, better than I was. Uh, so So this is last episode. It was Albeleo's turn. Tales of Symphonia. In StarCraft 2, you can see it. I'll have it in the description of the previous episode. All right. Now, today, I'm going to start out with my favorite one being Castlevania Curse of Darkness.
Yeah, one of those games that I just haven't gotten around to playing yet.
It's worth it. It's one of those ones that I feel they should remaster as part of a 3D collection when they do it. So, as a little note, I'm going to say hashtag Castlevania 3D collection.
Yeah, wouldn't that be nice if they actually dropped that?
Yeah. Well, I just want the hashtag to go around and let them see, hey, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
There's an interest in it. So, sequel to Castlevania 3, Dracula's Curse for the Famicom computer and NES. It's set 4 years after Castlevania 3, although it is actually released 15 years after Castlevania 3 on the PS2 and Xbox.
Oh, okay. I misheard you. I was like, after Lament of Innocence, that'd be wild.
Oh, yeah, it's hundreds of years after that one, but it's 1480, so 4 years after Dracula's Curse.
Yeah. And in this one, Isaac is going to be is trying to basically revive Dracula, correct?
Oh, I'm not sure he even realizes it. Most of what Isaac wants to do, according to the dialogue from the characters, is that he wants to kill Hector for deserting. But he wants Hector to come there so he can kill him there at the unknown abandoned castle, which will be on the Mysteries of Castlevania episode. Like, what is the abandoned castle? Because it's not Dracula's castle. That rises up out of the lake later on in the same game. So, what is the abandoned castle? There's theories about it, but I don't know.
Okay. Then what is the synopsis of this game for those who don't know?
So, basically, there were two guys who were essentially adopted and taught by Dracula to summon demons. Hector, we don't know his last name, and Isaac Laforez.
Mm-hmm.
So I say Laforez because that distinguishes him from his animated counterpart. And for anyone who's wondering, no, don't worry. The later seasons of Netflix Castlevania do not spoil this game or the plot twist. It's that different and divergent.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Isaac Laforez is a redhead in this one. So, way different. He's a ginger. Yeah. And you also have other characters such as Julia, Rosalie, and a very different version of Saint Germain in this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's not Saint Germain.
No, he says his name is Saint Germain, and you also have a guy named Zed, which there's all these hints as to who Zed really is, but you'll find out. Mm-hmm. But he's with you the whole time. Well, he and Saint Germain show up at various points, teasing you, and you wonder, okay, who are these guys? So that's it. That's how it starts. Anyways, It has the new mechanic of, previously in Lament of Innocence, you have to pay Ronaldo Gandolfi to craft items for you. In this one, Hector does it himself, but you have to collect the materials for crafting it.
Okay. So there's a crafting system in the game.
Right. Which the player does, although it's a little more complex and the player does it. Although Julia, who's the shopkeeper in this game, you can buy basic materials from her, but the more advanced materials, you either have to find them or steal them from characters.
Okay.
So Hector has the pickpocket or steal skill. Think steal in Final Fantasy, sort of.
Okay.
Although this isn't play turn based like Final Fantasy does, so you have to actually have Hector do it with a button press on an enemy.
Yeah, because both this and Lament of Innocence play like Devil May Cry to an extent.
Right. Hector also has a summoning system where he summons what you call an innocent devil. There you have fairies, you have birds, you have devil type, obviously, and you have golem type. And there's also the mage type, which I didn't mention. So you can only have one type of innocent devil at a time, and the other ones you have to store at the shop if you want to have different ones to experiment with different evolution paths. So if I evolved a innocent devil by using bladed weapons, it would evolve a certain way. If I wanted to evolve him using unique weapons, it would evolve a certain way, and so on.
Gotcha. So it's sort of like the Shin Megami Tensei series then.
Yeah,
Okay.
sort of.
Hey,
So there's
Alexander.
different ways to evolve them. Hi, Alex. Unlike in Lament of Innocence, you don't have fixed camera angles. You have to control it manually with the right analog control stick, or you do target lock. But otherwise, you control the camera angle yourself using the right analog stick, which is a little annoying at times. Because sometimes Hector's moving so fast that you don't keep up with your adjusting the camera angle. But some people like it though, for having the freedom to control your view and throughout the game.
Okay. So it
You take the
well,
right.
okay. I was
right,
thinking so it's like the Dark Souls camera.
Yeah, similar to that.
Gotcha.
Right analog stick. You have to up, down, left, or right to adjust your camera angle in the game.
Oh, okay. Just making sure.
Yeah, very similar. I'm going to go into some footage of this in a minute.
Yeah, right now it looks like you're the only one in chat, Alex. But I mean, that's okay. Just enjoy, I suppose. I hope you do find a job soon, though. Of course.
Yeah, I wish you luck.
Yeah, considering how many job openings are apparently popping up now.
Yeah.
Couldn't tell you why that's happening.
Oh yeah. Well, a lot of it's part time though, so I don't know. Part time is better than nothing, but not quite as high pay.
Oh, you're in Jamaica. Oh, all right. Well, never mind on that one. But still, good luck. Okay, so you've got the Shin Megami Tensei sort of mechanics, and you have the Devil May Cry-esque basic combat. Are what other elements are there to the gameplay? You said that there's a
Okay.
crafting system, which is interesting, of course.
Yes. There's also the steel. There's also, like I said, the crafting system, the summoning system, and there's secrets. Now, a lot of the secrets, similar to other Metroidvanias, your secrets involve you having some kind of ability to reach a certain area. In this case, you want to have summoning a summoning of a certain skill evolved.
And how you have this revenge when you were utterly at my mercy. Relinquished your powers. You couldn't even protect your own. And now you think to defeat me.
So this is the opening right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because this is right after Hector's ran into the castle.
Right, and you probably recognize Crispin Freeman right here as Hector.
Yeah, talk about eccentric.
Matter can be transformed into a hellish devil.
And of course, there's the angel-esque demon familiar that Isaac was using in the anime.
Yeah, it's also called Abel here, but it's a Easter egg.
Certainly. Would Perfect Dark Zero be a disappointing sequel? Oh, absolutely.
Humiliation you brought upon me 3 years ago. You cannot hope to
Now, for clarification for the Devil Forging, were they creating new demons to add to the army? Because
yes, they were. But the whole big reveal is that you are essentially cursing yourself by using that ability. Dracula taught them the skills to I really don't want to spoil it, but it was part of Dracula's plan to teach them that ability.
Mm-hmm.
He wants them to become like him.
So he's attuning their bodies to be vessels.
Yes.
Gotcha. That's what plays into the ending of this game. Gotcha. Oh, if you're wondering why, it's because he had the flu, and now apparently having the flu turns Adrian into Solid Snake, which is funny in its own way. Okay, so just to keep going with the Devil Forging for just a brief moment, they are not the creators of the entirety of the army, correct? They didn't just use corpses and turn them into demons. I thought they just summoned demons from hell.
It involves material on which you put a soul into it.
A demon's soul?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
That just writes itself.
But they have special abilities which they help you with, such as they can fly you around. They can help you travel under a gate or fence, and so on. So you need their abilities to reach certain areas.
Very long and linear level design here.
Oh yeah.
Now, granted, I'm sure because this is the early stuff, this is, this just happens to be the case.
So that Moai or Easter Island head, he got this because this person playing the game has a memory card saved for Lament of Innocence.
Oh.
So he got that for having save files for the other game.
Yeah, if that wasn't a cool mechanic at the time, have a save file on the
It's a
memory
gimmick,
card every
but
game.
it works.
Yeah, good times. I miss those days. So in Dracula's Curse, you know as well as I that Dracula made the pact with Chaos, got empowered, got the demons of hell to come up and become his army to fight for
Right.
his cause. So the demon forging is to create bigger and badder demons.
Yes. It's to create demons you can train to perform functions. For instance, the dragon, which is a type of ultimate evolution, it blows fire and it's pretty powerful against even bosses. When you evolve the bird into a dragon, and you can just blow fire from above.
Mm-hmm.
Or well, he was. You see, he was. That's one of the identities that Dracula had over all the years he's been alive.
Yes. Yeah, because they even do that in the first episode when Lisa walks into the castle. It's like, that's the welcoming mat. So they very much imply that Dracula is Vlad the Impaler, but they just tweak around the story a little bit. That's it. He's still he actually is.
In the game, he's the Impaler because they crucify. Lisa didn't burn in this one. If you see in Symphony of the Night, they nailed her to a cross essentially. So he said, "Okay, I'll skewer people." So that's a little fun part about the games.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you have fairly linear level design, looks and feels a lot like the old school.
Yeah.
Sort of like it. I don't want to say Final Fantasy 13 because it's obviously fairly newer by comparison, but with all of these games, they didn't quite know what to do in these big open environments. So you got the big environment, but they didn't really fill it with much. Is there a great deal of platforming that happens at a later time, or is it all basically open arenas for combat?
So it's open, but there's places you have to go back to when you have what you need to unlock it. For instance, Legion is hidden. So you have to get a certain innocent devil ability to go underneath a wall to find Legion.
Mm-hmm.
Or at the two towers, you need to get the long glide ability to fly from one tower to the other and get all the treasures, including Dracula's cloak, like the toughest armor in the game. So
how often do enemies pop up in this game? Because obviously the level design is fairly straightforward.
Oh, you get dozens of them per room. And some rooms don't have any.
Yeah, because I assume that because this is the beginning of the game, there's just not a great deal going on. But at the later missions, I would hope there's more.
Oh yeah. I'll skip ahead to a little farther in the game too.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the opening song, though, quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. And this is Zed, correct?
Yes, that's Zed.
Oh, well, there he says it. What I don't get is that Leon is also canon to the series, and Dracula's origin in Lament of Innocence is as Leon's former friend, which is a different person, which is weird. Well, he in Lament of Innocence, as you unravel the secrets of what's going on, the mystery, you find that Crunkvist, like, he orchestrated all of these different things to happen, and then at the end of it, he uses what you gained him, the soul of the vampire, and defeating death to trap him into an agreement. He does all of these things to turn himself into basically a super vampire. That's what makes Dracula so unique, because he's not an organic vampire. He's artificial vampire.
Well, he is, but his soul is from hell.
Well, yeah. But because of everything, all the extra steps that they went through to complete the spell and the ritual that Crunkvist is trying to do, he's not just a vampire, he's more powerful than most others. And as the game, like, it is implied that after Lament of Innocence, Alex, that Leon never found him, obviously. Like, he couldn't find where Dracula went.
Right.
None of the Belmont ancestors could, up until the Belmont clan was eventually brought back into Transylvania to deal with Dracula's assault on mankind in Dracula's curse.
Well, that's because part of it is his castle, which is symbiotic with him. His castle is a symbiote.
Yeah, because the castle itself is a demon, as is the name in Japan.
Right.
And on top of all of that, that's just from the Belmont perspective. From Dracula's perspective, he was doing his own stuff most of the time, and he does end up impaling people because he basically still was Vlad the Impaler as we know him, because he took up that mantle over time in Transylvania.
Right.
And then he starts impaling even more people when Lisa dies.
Yes.
So he's a pre-existing character that happens to take on that role of actual history over time. It's happened in movies before. Like the mayor, sort of. The mayor from Buffy.
Right. Oh, yeah. So this is the first boss. The mechanical golem.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of the gear golem from Bloodlines.
Yeah, so Dullahan is a separate one in this game. He shows up later.
So he basically just changed his name, and they made him the ruler of Wallachia. Well, yeah, basically. So what was his full name? It was like Alexander Crunkvist, I think.
Matthias Alexander.
Matthias. I know the name. I always screw it up though. So Matthias Crunkvist is Dracula. He eventually takes on the persona of Dracula when he settles in Transylvania.
Yes, correct.
That birdcage-esque elevator is
yes. The warp zones are even more just weird in this game. You sit in a chair and you choose. Okay, you're sitting in a chair in an observatory. You say, "Oh, hey, I want to warp to this location." This is the golem summon.
Okay.
So the golem, it's interesting. You can teach him to become a fire monster or teach him to become a sword wielder. Depends what weapons you use to evolve him.
Are there any of these rewards that you have to fight in order to obtain, or do you just
Yes.
get them?
Yes. There are some items you can only get by stealing from a boss. So I missed stealing from the Minotaur this game. So I'm going to do it again in my next playthrough so I can get the throwing stars and eventually the machine gun. Because he has the devil iron and he's the only one you can get it from by stealing during the boss fight. Only by the boss battle. Yeah, Alex, there's people with French names in Wallachia too, so it happens. Renard, that's French.
Isn't Richter?
Richter is German. Belmont is French.
Richter's German. Okay.
Richter is German word for judge.
Oh, okay.
And if they went the route of Castlevania 64, then you'd have the Schneiders take over for the Belmonts, but Iga didn't like that idea. He wanted to keep the Belmont name.
Yeah.
I don't think, but Schneider doesn't sound that bad to me. I'm going to move on to Max Payne in a few minutes.
So, are there any other details or even negatives that you would want to make mention of before moving on?
Oh, I'll get out of this for a minute.
Sure.
So, besides the camera control being a little problematic, I mean, the game can give you a false sense of security when you start it. It feels very easy, but as you get farther along, the difficulty amps up after the first quarter is done. So for a lot of people, that can really catch them off guard. How quickly the difficulty goes way up. Initially, you can just guard easily, but there are later enemies where you have to time your block or else the guard does not work. So when you're near the end of the game, you have to do perfect guard where you time your hitting of the block button to match with the impact of your enemy's weapon, or else your block will not work. It will hurt you.
Okay. So there's a sort of parry system?
Yes. It's called Perfect Guard, and Perfect Guard was in Lament of Innocence previously, but in this game, unlike Lament of Innocence, it doesn't recharge your magic like it did in that one. In this one, it's like you either do your perfect guards with your later bosses in this game, or they're going to kill you, pretty much. So, for instance, in the Minotaur, he's one of the earliest bosses where unless you do the actual perfect guard, your block will not work. Obviously, he's huge, and he's swinging a huge column at you, so that somewhat makes sense. Now, some of his attacks, like when he throws the column at you like a javelin, you cannot block that. You will take damage. You have to dodge it and jump out of the way when he does that, the throwing the column at you.
Okay.
And there's also, missing out on materials that makes the game way more difficult. So I did get the laser blade, which is the Castlevania version of a lightsaber. And without it, the game gets really hard because your fast rate of attack and your damage combined, you kind of need it given how tough the later enemies get.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
I remember when I can imagine it being much more difficult if you don't have all the right weapons.
yeah.
Especially if it comes out for free, basically.
Oh yeah. You have to steal to get the lightsaber ingredient. Purple glitter, you have to steal that for a boss, and it gets a little hard. I'm going to put a thing for it in my Castlevania Facts series on how to steal purple glitter, because it's not easy.
Mm-hmm.
Not easy much at all. But other than that, this game gets really hard, really fast. So watch out. But that and the camera angle controls get a bit annoying. But other than that, it's pretty good. It's a good sequel to both. It's a spiritual sequel to Lament of Innocence. And it's very much a direct sequel to Castlevania 3. And you do have Trevor in there. Trevor from Castlevania 3, which in my opinion is his best design I've ever seen. With his boots and boots, leather jacket, and so on. I think it's my favorite design of Trevor they've ever shown. You know, it looks better than just another Simon outfit. You know, it sets Trevor aside.
Gotcha.
And
I'm not particularly fond of all of the unnecessary belt buckles that Japan constantly does.
Oh yeah, but no, the voice acting is pretty good too. I mean, you have Crispin Freeman from Hellsing is the main character in this one as Hector, and there's Liam O'Brien, who's the voice of the Joker in Young Justice, is Isaac. So if you're wondering if the guy ever voiced the Joker, yes, he did.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Trevor's theme in this game goes hard.
It's pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, Michiru Yamane wrote a pretty good mix of classical music with rock, which works in this game, given the tone.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good mix. So one of the things that I'm stuck with and why I like to play this game is the music.
Well, Castlevania has all the way since the first game, like they have absolutely nailed the music in this franchise.
So the biggest ones I'll say is it's a very good plot twist for the early 2000s. It's in my opinion, it's up there with the plot twist from BioShock or Star Wars Knights of the Republic. Okay to great for voice acting. Michiru Yamane's music, camera angle control, like I said, and this game is very difficult to understand without the instruction manual booklet. They do have that as PDF online these days, but if it was back in the 2000s, when you didn't have the booklet, it's difficult to understand.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure. So before he gets to Max Payne 3, another thing is Dracula, the one in Castlevania series, was basically the sitting ruler of Wallachia, and Lisa was his wife, meaning they basically just killed their queen. Yeah, it kind of sort of like there's no there's no official like Dracula was the king of the countryside. He doesn't they didn't actually try to.
Sorry, I need a drink.
No, you're good. You're good. They didn't officially recognize Dracula. It's like obviously, because why would you want to have a vampire as your king? So Like, they knew he basically existed in the area, but he also was so inactive that most people didn't even know that he was actually real.
Most
by
people
the
didn't
time
know
of
it's the
Dracula
same
3.
person.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and I really think that his wife had some kind of arranged marriage in Wallachia. So maybe they didn't know entirely who this lad was. It's kind of creepy though how Annette from Rondo of Blood looks a lot like Lisa. That's just bizarre, creepy. Maybe that's why he went after Annette. I don't know. But now we're going into Max Payne 3.
Yes.
So Max Payne was originally released in 2001, and they had a sequel in 2003 by Remedy Entertainment. Remedy wanted to go with Alan Wake, which is another good series of action games. I recommend Alan Wake 2 for those who aren't familiar with Alan Wake, but also by Remedy. But they finished with Max Payne 2 and just had a publishing go by Gathering of Developers. And Rockstar is the distribution for Max Payne 1 and 2 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3D platformers. So you had older games like the Terminator or James Bond Duel, where you run around shooting. Well, this is Max Payne decided to do it in 3D. Max Payne also got the slow motion or bullet time, quote unquote, in it. And it was in development around the same time period, starting in 1996, as The Matrix. So we can't really say that one of them got it off the other. They were both in development around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So the film and the video game. Although I will say that the Matrix-based video games got pretty good in terms of combining just everything. Guns, melee weapons, unarmed combat, all in the same game. So I do recommend Path of Neo for the gameplay.
Okay.
But everyone never gets so long, finds that one. But to start a little bit, we'll start with the original Max Payne to get an idea of how it started.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So
what is the synopsis for like the Max Payne series exactly?
okay. So in the duology, as I'm going to say it for Max Payne 1 and 2, there is a case. So Max Payne, he's a detective for the NYPD.
Mm-hmm.
He notices that there are mysterious leaks about a drug called Valkyr. Completely designed, invented drug. And he's trying to figure out what happened with it, especially since his wife, who worked with the district attorney in New York, got murdered by two addicts of the drug called Valkyr. They were hallucinating, talking about the flesh of fallen angels. They kill her. So Max decides, hey, I'm going to join the DEA to try and figure out what's going on with this Valkyr stuff. So this is him going through the mystery of going all over the New York City underworld, trying to figure out like who's behind the drugs, who did it. So that's more or less it. Now, like a film noir or an old detective movie, it starts at the ending, then it continues with Max narrating it from the past as to what happened.
Gotcha. Okay.
So rest in peace, James McCaffrey. He was great on Blue Bloods, and he was also good as the voice of Max Payne.
Yep, definitely looks like a PS2 game.
Yeah, and they definitely used their limited data on a CD to just do comic books instead of full video cutscenes. But I do like the comic books, though. The comic book panels, because they add to the dark tone.
It also creates a unique style.
It does. Now the thing here is the CEO of Remedy Entertainment, Sam Lake. They used his face for Max Payne in the first game. They used the likeness of his actual mother as a villain, and his father as another villain too. It's part of the low budget game production back then.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. No one knew he was their king. People in the medieval times didn't really care much for politics, and were completely focused on their work. Yes and no. With how small of an area that Transylvania is, you would imagine that they would have a much better understanding because of how close everything is. They also, in this universe, they're constantly being hounded by, all kinds of monsters and everything. So it would make sense that they would at least have an idea. Yeah. So this is Payne's mother that's dead?
It's his wife, Michelle.
Wife. Gotcha.
And they're remaking this too, so I have a bad feeling about how they're going to remake it. I don't know, but it's still going to show these comic book panels or no?
So, do the first two games play a lot like 3, or does 3 change a lot?
3 changes quite a bit. It changes quite a bit. So,
okay.
So after the first 2 games, obviously Remedy was working on Alan Wake, which Alan Wake is pretty good. It's an interesting series of games. You wonder whether or not Alan wakes up from a dream or not.
Mm-hmm.
I think he did, but others think he did not. But otherwise, since Rockstar bought it out the rights to Max Payne, it took a while. Dan Houser, you remember for writing the Grand Theft Auto games, after he finished Grand Theft Auto 4, he said, okay, let's try our own Max Payne game. So the mixed feelings here come with this. He decided to not do any more continuation of the New York City story. Now Max Payne is in Brazil dealing with the drug cartels in Brazil instead.
Gotcha.
But it has some memories of what happened in New York and New Jersey. But yeah. That, and they also, during the long time in between Max Payne 2 and 3, they did a Max Payne movie.
I do remember having seen it, but I don't remember much about it, which sure is for the
Mark Wahlberg, come on. He's not much different of a character that he plays in all his movies.
He does carry basically the same persona.
Yeah. So, yeah. So my biggest disappointment with Max Payne 3 is not the gameplay. That's like number 2 or 3. My biggest disappointment is the compatibility issues that this game has.
Really?
You have to sign
Okay.
into the Rockstar game service, which is a pain in the ass. And for if you're a Linux user or a Mac OS user, unfortunately, it doesn't work for you now because Linux and Mac OS don't do 32-bit only games. So you have to either play it on a Xbox 360 or a PS3 or play it on Windows. So the Mac OS and Linux users are out of the loop on this game. It's outdated to them.
Okay.
Yeah. They could.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no argument with that one. They
All right.
definitely could.
But that's the thing. The Rockstar game service, this is one of the earliest games where they did that. We had to log into Rockstar. And today, even on a Windows machine, I'm having problems even getting the game to run. It crashes my game, which annoys me. So, and meanwhile, the first 2 Max Paynes actually work pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, aside from a DirectX 8 issue, which they had 2 years ago on Steam, they work. And I'm thinking of playing Max Payne live, if no one minds me missing the third one.
Yeah, sure. Whatever you want to do, man. So outside of the main disappointment of that, are there any other are there any other major issues for it to be, one of your most disappointing sequels?
Oh yes. The game interrupts you with cutscenes. I know the cutscenes are there to load, but it breaks from the immersion that you had in the first 2 Max Paynes, because those ones, they did have loading, but those are the comic book panels you saw on the screen.
Mm-hmm.
And even then, Max Payne narrates on the fly. He narrates while you're playing the game and running around shooting, which saves you a lot of time having to worry about hearing things, about having to hear a video cutscene. So since the older games had more of a nonstop, uninterrupted flow, that's the irritation that I have with number 3. It has video cutscenes. And the least times you have a video cutscene is when you do arcade rail shooting. There's parts in the game where you're in the back of a boat, or riding in a car with a shotgun, firing at other enemies from the back seat. Those are great. Well, they don't play like a Max Payne, but they don't have as many of those video cutscene interruptions.
Interesting. I wonder why they made that choice.
So that's the thing. I mean, it just doesn't flow the way they worked. And I don't know.
Does anyone play Max Payne without the slow-mo? Also, what do you guys think of Anita Sarkeesian? Well, let's start with Max Payne.
I mean, I do play, the thing with slow-mo is you have to store kills outside of slow-mo to build up your slow motion meter. So you can't just slow motion your way through the entire game. There's other nitpicks people have about 3, but yeah, so you're limited on how much you can do slow motion. There are some people who use minimal slow motion because there are some parts where to do an extra long jump, you need to do a jump in slow motion. Don't ask me why slow motion lets Max Payne jump farther. I don't know the answer to that one.
That's probably like screwing with the physics or whatever in the game.
Oh yeah, you get some ragdoll physics in the early game, in the first one especially. where people get shot and then go flying back.
Yeah. As for Anita Sarkeesian, she is just one of the worst possible things that could have ever happened to the gaming industry at large. I'm going to keep it real simple because I could go off on that
Yeah.
for hours.
I'm not going to go on a long tangent. I'm annoyed by her.
Yeah, like if you ask me tomorrow, like during the stream, maybe I'll go a bit more into it. But yeah, no, it's like literal hours of just complaining about how bad Gamergate and everything was because of her.
Oh, are you going to be playing Doom again? Continuing Doom tomorrow?
Yes. Not to, didn't mean to shamelessly plug myself, but yeah. Episodes 3 and 4, I should be able to complete all both of those episodes in their entirety.
Flesh consumed.
Yeah. All in ultra violence, but you know, I know they flesh consume pretty well, so I should be able to get through it pretty easily.
Yeah.
So back to other disappointments.
We're going to take a look at Max Payne 3, and you'll see what I was talking about.
Sure, by all means. Actually, yeah, this whole week is going to be just disappointments. It's like Max Payne 3, Doom Episode 4, and then probably later today I'll go and see Brave New World for Captain America.
Oh, good luck.
Yeah, apparently it's getting shredded even by all of the shills in media right now. So it's like, wow, if you lost them, like it must be bad.
So yeah, Max. The one thing I at least feel good about is you don't try to continue New York City, but now it's in Brazil, and it's like, well, it's kind of like a Grand Theft Auto game, not a Max Payne.
Yeah, certainly looks like it, especially with that matte painting.
So that's Raul Passos. He's a somewhat funny and interesting supporting character. At least his quips talking to you about what's going on make it a little funny at times.
Mm. Well, it definitely looks decent.
It does. 2012.
Granted, this cutscene at the time was probably amazing, but now this is like normal graphics for us.
Right. So you can only carry 2 weapons at a time.
Well,
unlike Max Payne, you can carry a whole.
He's got golden guns.
One bullet wins. He's upgraded. That's why you get it. So golden is the highest upgrade level.
Gotcha. All right, so we definitely skipped ahead. Why is everyone dead?
Because they're trying to take Fabiana hostage.
Gotcha. Okay.
So Max is going to go down the water slide and nail this guy in the head. But that's the thing that's sort of different is that it constrains you as to how you can play the game. This is the only way you can do it. In previous Max Payne games, you could do it from multiple angles.
I wonder what happens if you just don't shoot. Just go sliding down into the pool. Like, what's this guy doing?
Yeah.
What is that?
This is the soccer stadium in Sao Paulo.
Yes, because because this cardboard sign is going to be enough to stop bullets.
Yeah, the jumping maneuvers are a little bit more rigid. Because I mean, in the first Max Payne games, when you do slow motion, you can roll over, spin around, you just get it back up pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
So they were trying to put cover based mechanics into this, but they ended up making something that's a departure from the old Max Payne.
So what is that like pulsing like 3D distortion effect that goes on every so often?
So that's part of the slow motion. They make it all warped. They make your view get warped because it's slow motion. It's really weird. The focus.
Yeah, like
you saw that?
yeah, and this, yeah. Okay,
So
so that I see them initiating that. What is it the same effect in the cutscenes?
No, they do. They mostly do flashing letters.
Mm. Okay. I was just wondering because it looked like they were just doing it for style almost. I like this right there. I didn't understand why that's happening.
Well, to let you see that you're in slow motion, but the other Max Payne doesn't quite do that.
Gotcha.
It uses sound, like slowed down sound, to let you know.
Yeah, see, like they keep doing it here, and I don't understand if this is like a aesthetic or something for the
Right.
cinematics or not.
They're doing it this way because this is a cutscene interruption right here. But I kind of like the comic book panels from the other game. That was
What
cool.
would happen if you just shot him?
If you shot Paso, it'd be game over.
No, I mean just shoot the friend.
Oh yeah, it'd be game over because you see
just end it.
Yeah.
Also, fun fact: Shadow Warrior actually pioneered dual-wielding guns in games. Oh, did it?
Yeah,
is it
dual Uzis? Dual Uzis, yeah.
Oh, okay. When did Shadow Warrior come out?
So Shadow Warrior was
That was like 95.
You had the single one episode in 97 in March, but the full game in August of 1997.
Okay, so when did GoldenEye come out then?
97. 18 months from the time the movie GoldenEye came out. We talked about this previously about how Shadow Warrior, because of the single episode release, Shadow Warrior beat GoldenEye by a few months for having vehicular driving.
Yeah, I do remember us discussing this at one point. Yep, all three releases: Japan, North America, and UK, 97. Okay. Wow, like they really, really wanted to make this like much more cinematic, didn't they?
Yeah, they did.
Because all he did was he beat a dude and then stood up, and it's just like, hey, another cinematic because you have to climb up the elevator or climb up the ladder.
Yeah, because the sniper was up there.
Yeah, even when you kill guys, he killed two people, and here we are in a cinematic again.
Yeah, it interrupts a lot, and that's my annoyance with the game.
This is that sort of issue I had with Wicked when I reviewed it, because every time they would get into a musical, ooh, nice shot, 2 for 1. Every time they did one of the songs, it would play out for a little bit, but then it would just abruptly stop, and they would just progress the story and have people talking, and then they would continue the song again. And sometimes the music would break up 2 or 3 times per song, especially in the ending, Defy Gravity or whatever the climactic. But they just kept doing it over and over and over again, and this is what that reminds me of, except without all of the weird distortion effects.
Gives me a headache sometimes.
Yeah, less is more. This is definitely a game that lesson should have been learned from.
Yeah. What? He just wasted 36 of your guys.
What? Why not?
He wasted 36 of their guys. I'm just saying, like, what? Let him go?
That's one of those really... that's one of those really terrible writing stories. Drives me nuts.
So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think Dan Houser's okay in GTA, but he was kind of out of this when making this one.
God, that distortion effect is really unnecessary.
It is. I'd rather have a comic book panel if they could do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Dark is pretty good. I would say Mai Hasegawa, but she's a third-person shooter, not first-person.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure there wasn't any other first-person females in a shooter game. Like, not including skins for things like GoldenEye.
Jade is third person from Beyond Good and Evil, Jade, and then there's Mai Hasegawa from Oni, but they're all third person.
And Samus got beaten by Joanna by what, 2 or 3 years, because Prime didn't come out until then. Would have. It was on the 64, but they canceled the Metroid game that was supposed to happen.
So that's why they delayed it all the way until a GameCube.
Yeah, basically they were trying to figure out how to make a first person. Like, they were either going to do first person or third person. They leaned towards third for the 64 Metroid game, but they couldn't figure out how to make it work at the time. So they scrapped it, and they waited until they had a stronger system. And Prime was actually supposed to be a third person game, and then at the last second, they right before it was supposed to release, they I don't remember who it was, the producer came over from Japan, from Nintendo, and said, "This is all really great and all, but make it first person." And they were like, are you kidding? So they basically had to recode the entire game inside of 5 or 6 months, and they had almost completed the game. It was brutal. Like, if you ever get a chance, look up the development cycle for Metroid Primes 1 and 2. They hated having to make that game the way that they did. Because imagine making Symphony of the Night, and you're like, this game is great, and then somebody's like, that's cool, now make this 2D game into third person. You'd scream, you know.
Yeah, there was Kate Archer, No One Lives Forever. Those are actually all right for being back in 1999 and 2001. There was 2 No One Lives Forevers. But yeah, I think people like to see the lady, and rather than look at things from her perspective. That's my opinion.
I'm inclined to agree.
Of course. But that's the other one I can think of. You can also
there's-
optionally, but it's not canon in Deus Ex 2, you could choose to be a male or a female character
Mhm.
as Alex D. But yeah, it's not an official thing. It could have been either.
Yeah, there's not many female protagonists, especially in shooters. There just aren't. Like Joanna is obviously like the first. Kate Archer, Samus, but beyond that, I mean, I'm inclined to agree because when you think female protagonist, most of them are third person, like that God
Like
of War.
Jade. Like Jade
Yeah,
in Beyond Good and
Jade,
Evil.
Resident
Mai
Evil.
Hasagawa. Or,
Um,
yeah, Resident Evil. You can play as female characters in that one. Like Jill
yeah,
Valentine is the one I think of.
I was thinking Claire and Ada. What was that God of War knockoff, like Heaven's Sword or something? I don't remember.
There was also Wet, but that was just a one-off game. But you played an assassin woman who could jump around with swords and guns. And it was third
Mhm.
person.
Yeah. So so outside of the obnoxious amount of cinematics and how bad the cinematics are done, what else is there that you take issue with in Max Payne 3? I see that you have there's a rail shooter segment and a bunch of other things. I just found out recently about wet. What is wet exactly?
You know, Kill Bill.
Yeah.
So you're playing as a character similar to the Bride. You're going out to kill the people who tried to kill you.
Oh, gotcha.
She has katanas and guns.
Okay.
So yeah, but here, like what I said, the rail shooters and it's just some of the dialogue is just it's not quite what the previous two Max Paynes were.
Okay.
I like the fact they weren't trying to add anything else into the mystery plot of Max Payne 1 and 2. That would just be that wouldn't really there was nothing much to really add substantially to that, and I'm glad they moved on. The ending was okay with me, um, but yeah, I enjoy parts of it, like sitting in the back of a car or a back of a boat shooting, but that's not Max Payne.
Mhm.
It's nice to hear the voice of James McCaffrey one last time before we lost him in 2023. But
Okay.
it's not really the style of Max Payne. It departs from it. But for me, the issues with the Rockstar service, which you have to log into to play the game, is the worst
Mm,
on Steam, and it's the
gotcha.
biggest disappointment to me because I'm right now. I tried playing it, and I played the earlier two Max Paynes partially, but I'm having crashing issues right now with the Rockstar service. I wish they'd just take it out. I mean, I paid for the game, and I know they're trying to avoid piracy here, but it's causing me more of a pain than it should.
Yeah, but you know as well as I, they do it to boost their numbers for sales and everything else.
Well, I know they're doing it to fight against, sales and piracy, but all the compatibility issues, I just don't feel like it's worth it. But then again, Max Payne 1 and 2 still work, so I can always play those ones. So,
I think making
could-
ladies first-person protagonists might actually teach people about the misogyny and gender discrimination women face.
Maybe. Maybe no. I'm mixed.
I don't think that women actually face all that much in the way of discrimination, especially when it comes to the absence of like female protagonists. There are plenty that absolutely rock it in media across the planet. It's just a matter of whether or not they're good, you know?
Right.
Like most stories are from the male perspective because it, you know, they're most men, you know, most of the time it's men who are called to adventure, you know, but that doesn't
Right.
mean that you can't have female in that story either as the main protagonist or even a secondary character who supports them. Again, it's all about quality. I mean, hell, Trigun right there is, you know, the whole main cast is right there, and half of them are women. You know,
Yeah, 2 out of 4, right? But yeah, we're gonna. So this is just at the end, like the biggest issue I have with Max Payne 3 and the biggest disappointment is all the technical issues they have in that game. So that, you know, it crashes. It doesn't let me even play it. And then there's the interruptions. But otherwise, Curse of Darkness it's one of the best sequels out there.
Mhm.
But there's a preview of things to come. There's Whatever Happened to Trigun, followed by Mysteries of Castlevania. So these are upcoming live streams. Hopefully my voice sounds a lot better than Max Payne or Solid Snake next time. Hopefully. Because I'm not talking about Metal Gear Solid. In the meantime, everyone, hope you have a nice time. And everyone, have a nice day. Same time, same channel next Thursday.
Thanks for coming, Alex.